These are the VRS Direct Force Pro pedals. So it's a high-end product, stainless steel construction with an industrial aesthetic. Very, very adjustable. All three pedals, the pedal faces in terms of height, depth, angle are fully adjustable, and overall pedal angle is also adjustable. Now, if we look at the throttle pedal first, we have quite a unique design here. So we have a rodless spring, which doesn't quite look right to the eye, but functionally performs extremely well. Absolutely no friction whatsoever, so really nice smooth response. And we have a lot of adjustability here in terms of initial starting force, preload, and also overall force and pedal travel. So if we move on to the brake, we have similar levels of adjustability, a very high-end, heavy-duty construction. We have the blue spring on here at the moment, which tolerates a 65 kilogram maximum force. Also supplied is the optional red spring, which doubles that to 130 kilograms. These are linear springs, which is not normally how a real-life brake pedal feels. So we have this very clever mechanism on the back here, which basically turns that into a progressive, more realistic feeling, which gives you quite a decent bit of travel for low-level trail braking, and then more of a ramp up when you're really braking much harder. And we have this tie rod at the top, which is fully adjustable, along with preload, so you can really fine-tune that exact force shape to your preference. On the clutch, we have a similar level of adjustability in terms of pedal face and also the shape of the curve. So we try to emulate a clutch plate, which is stiff initially and then flattens out as the clutch gives way. So that's emulated here with a small amount of adjustability, including overall travel as well. So we're very happy with this product, and we hope you are too.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit IRacing.com.
If you're looking to get serious in sim racing, one of the first things to do is upgrade your wheelbase and pedals. The powerful force feedback in our direct drive wheelbase makes a huge difference, and our highly adjustable precision pedals will give you the consistency you need to improve. So you'll not only get the best value for your money, but you'll also benefit from our quick, local shipping from Australia and save even more. Our transparent pricing has GST included, so there's no nasty surprises at checkout or further customs delays and charges. And if you're near Melbourne, you can simply pick up your hardware from our showroom and get a free product walkthrough from one of our VRS coaches. We offer excellent customer service after the sale, and our hardware is made of the highest quality components. To get yours today, just go to the URL on the screen or click on the button below. But hurry, stock is always limited due to high demand. So if you want to get faster, sooner, VRS is your answer.
Control, feel the thunder in my soul. Through the danger, through the pain, only one thing to do to get to victory lane. Taking risks, full send, and in the end, be the best. It's taking over, cannot contain the desire to get to victory lane. I hear the echoes of the past, the roaring ghosts that never last. But here I stand, the finish line, one last race, one last time. Through it all, get past the pain, cutting laps, making gains, feeling tired, get to my aim. The desire to get to victory lane, speeding faster, no control. Feel the thunder in my soul. Through the danger, through the pain, only one thing to do to get to victory lane. Taking risks, full send, and in the end, be the best. It's taking over, cannot contain the desire to get to victory lane.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the iRacing World Challenge here on Infinity Broadcasting as we bring to you round 9 of Season 1 of the VRS Virtual Racing School Porsche Cup Series here this evening out at Indy Road Course. I'm your commentator Hamish Munro, joined once again by the great James Parfitt alongside. He was away last week with an unfortunate illness. James, hope you're feeling better, and I hope you're feeling prepared for what's to come at the 2009 variant of the Indy Road Course, which should throw up some challenges. It's already raised some hairs amongst the field, but should be an absolute belter of a race.
A classic. Sorry about apologies for last week, but unfortunately my stomach decided to join me on the outside.
Absolutely. Never
good. I've got to be honest on that one, but no, I'm looking forward to this. I think this should be an absolute banger as well. Is this the best variant of this course? Possibly. Maybe. Do you know what though, right? Really, what this is one of these rovals that really drive me bonkers because they don't utilize as much of the oval as what they possibly can. Like Daytona is cool, you know, I think there's one at Homestead and a couple of others that have got rovals attached to them, Charlotte, but they don't utilize the banking as much here at Indy. One of the other things they've got to be careful as well, it's going to be so slippery. You've got cars with nothing on them, no traction control, no ABS, and you've got a slippery Indy with absolute roasting temperatures. What can go wrong?
What can go wrong? We'll have a quick look at the track map here this evening as well. I'll be honest, I thought that I had a video version of this from SimSpeed. It was titled Indy Road 2009. It turned out to be a Belle Isle one, so we've had to quickly make one up tonight. Anyway, regardless, we started on the main straight, head down towards the regular turn 1-2, which can be quite a good passing opportunity later in the race. Then up through 3 and 4, and then the difference is pretty much between this and the modern day variant of this track begins here at turn 5. Instead of going through the chicane and onto the inside straight, you actually cut in and down towards the old turn 6, which is quite a deceiving corner. It's a late apex at 5, and then you're for a long left-hander at 6 and back up again towards turn 7. And then you back out to the regular road layout. You come up towards turn 8, 9 and 10 and then up to 11, where you can get an opportunity at 8 to get a pass done. If you can get the run through there, you can also maybe attempt one up towards turn 11 as well. And then you're entering back out onto the bowl at turn 12, and there is no road course variant at the final couple of corners. It runs around the bowl through turn 13 back onto the main straight. This layout pretty much most famously used in the 2006 US Grand Prix, where all the Michelin tyre users in the Formula 1 field blew their tyres, and it was only 6 cars for the Grand Prix. But regardless, it'll be a good test tonight for these drivers. The draft train's going to be strong, and it's, I think, a good way for us to end our droppable round portion of the series before we head out to Belle Isle next week, where drivers are going to have to be perfect if they hope to take out the championship.
Yeah, that's one of the exciting things they get to look forward to, isn't it? By the way, guys, this is the last one you can drop. So if you're going to suck now.
Yep, pretty much.
What I mean? Don't do it next week.
Nope.
If you're gonna literally go bust, do it at this one. And do you know what though? This is a course, and that you can go completely wrong at. This is the thing. It is just one of them that you sit back and think, oh, dude, if you're gonna go wrong, you might as well go wrong here. You know, turns 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All difficult corners, especially in this car. I'm looking forward to this. This is 60 minutes, let's not forget as well. It is just a feature race, 60 minutes straight up. But there's a lot that could happen in them 60 minutes.
There is a lot that can happen. A lot happened last week as well out at Road Atlanta in round 8 of the series, our final rush round of the series, where we found Simon Mazzomo at the top of the round winning list for the first time this season. He then comes into tonight as the championship leader on 788 points. 9 points adrift of Daniel Harris after getting a 5-point penalty last week for comms violation. Corey Lazarus, who had an unfortunate run at Road Atlanta, also copped a 6-point penalty. He's in third on 766. Ellie Gardner in fourth on 709, with Dan Patrick in P5 on 669. Then the important thing is Ben Pedersen in P6 is not racing tonight at Indianapolis, so he will likely drop positions, and that would take him out of the championship fight as well. Paul Wilson, Craig Schultz, Nico Cordier, Devon Stove, they all find themselves inside the top 10, but at the moment it is looking to be a 4-horse race where Ellie Gardner is realistically probably the last possible driver who could challenge the top 3 for a championship here, but at the moment it's becoming a hell of a fight between Mazomo, Harris and Lazarus, leading into not only tonight's event but also the final 2 races of the season next week at Belle Isle for the final round.
Yeah, this is the moment they've got to look and get right. They've got to decide, are they going to succeed or are they going to suck? And that's the thing. You don't want to not do this race because you sit back and think, oh, I don't like Indy, I'm whatever reason you're going to come up with. But you've got to sit back and decide that, how am I going to approach Indy? Are you going to sit back and go, well, I'm going to go for it? Are you going to sit back and go, I'm going to try and score points? There's a lot of things involved with this race, and I think this could be a classic one where we sit back and go, wow, did we just witness that? And I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it as well. We also have a couple of announcements to make too as qualifying begins as well. The first of all has to do with the VRS Porsche Cup Series. The drivers who had participated in 3 rounds this season were allowed early access to sign-ups for Season 2 last weekend prior to Road Atlanta. Well, they had a week to get their early sign-ups in, but now public sign-ups are live for Season 2 of the VRS Porsche Cup Series. The link to our Discord, or the link to our Facebook page, is in the description. We don't have our Discord link down there, but we should. But there will be posts going out all week on our Facebook page linking you to the Discord so you can come in and sign up for Season 2 for next season. The entry fee has up to $20. This is just to help us cover some of the costs that we found this season. Live race control once again, and a live safety car, and more prizes to be won from VRS, where we handed out our first prizes last week for the first 7 rounds of the season. So some prizes have already gone out to some drivers. They were very, very happy to receive those as well, including Daniel Harris. He gave some of those away on his stream last week on Thursday. So, yeah, it's great to see. We have got some to give away that Ben Pedersen has said that we are allowed to give away. So we'll make some decisions on if we give them to drivers or if we give them to watchers as well. That'll all be happening next week at Belle Isle when we come to that decision. We also would like to announce, starting in Season 2 on Fridays, at a $10 entry level. This is a free fun series. It's not live RC. We'll be running with the iRacing regulations and the auto yellow caution system for it. We're going to be going into the world of ovals for next season on Fridays with the Rod Knock Cup coming your way. The Arcers are making their way into the IRWC with a wonderful calendar on offer for Charlotte, North Carolina, starting out 99 laps in round 1, Martinsville round 2, James's favourite track at 140 laps, Texas Motor Speedway round 3 at 90 laps, Watkins Glen Cup Circuit for round 4 for 30 laps to at least get one road course in there, Michigan Raceway 69 laps for round 5, Langley for round 6 at 200 laps, Talladega 50 laps round 7, Phoenix for round 8 at 85 laps, Atlanta Motor Speedway 80 laps round 9, and then we end it all at Daytona Motor Speedway for 50 laps on the 29th of August 2025. So that will be starting on the 27th of June 2025. Our sign-ups for that series will be going live very, very soon. But with all of the announcements done now, James, we can get into qualifying and we can see how these drivers are doing. And surprisingly, the man on the move tonight, the man with the most amount of pace in the field, is Jaden Wilcox, who freshly moved to 9.5 Sim Sports a few weeks ago. He set a 127.8 already in qualifying. He was down to a 127.4 in practice. He has found some pace at Indianapolis Road Course, and we could see another new winner this season if he can pull it off.
Yeah, this is the thing as well, right? There are circuits that suit people. By the way, just to let you know, you made me completely unhappy. You've just literally ruined your NASCAR series by putting a road circuit on there. All right.
They race at Watkins Cup Circuit.
It doesn't matter. I really do not like road circuits in NASCAR. They literally suck. They're not normal. But hey, look, I'll take that as we drop round. But this is the thing here. It's going to be an interesting one. I'd love to sit here and say Jaden's going to win. He's on pole, 127.8, winning by 1.5 tenths. He's going to go and smash it. But there's also 20 other people on this circuit that can turn around and go, no, you're not. And Dan Harris, Lazarus, are also two of them that's just taken over that position.
They have indeed 127.39, so Harris has found some pace with the qualifying setup on this car. Lazarus as well, 127.61. We'll see if Wilcox can continue to challenge him. Craig Schultz at 9.5 Sim Sports as well has really improved across the season. He's getting better and better in this car, and with this trio being led by the championship leader Simon Mazzomo, well, they could get better and better the more races that they do in these cars in the IRWC field, of course. And I mean, I'm excited. I mean, Mez has been a real sneaky pick all season. He has not taken a race win, but he has won a round, of course, at Road Atlanta last week, and he now leads the championship. So he's stayed in it all season long. He's missed one round. So every round that was droppable, barring round 2, of course, which he missed, he has been here to race. So next week at Belle Isle, if he's on circuit, he's going to need to be perfect once again, and maybe he may even need to win the race, or the races, I should say, to actually win this championship. It's going to come down to the absolute wire, I feel, because Harris and Lazarus do not look like they're slowing down. And there is the X factor then of Ellie Gardner. Can she find some pace too to challenge these boys at the top? And maybe even throw a spanner in the works in terms of who finishes top 3 at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think we're still, although sensibly you would sit back and go, right, it's going to be between this and this, right? You know, it's Mazzono, it's Harris, it's Lazarus, that's it. But Gardner's only got to get a decent run here. Harris and Lazarus got to have a bad one. And to throw it all in, Wilcox is in the mix as well, which isn't really challenging in the title. In fact, he's down in 18th at the moment. So there's a couple of people in here. Schultz is another one as well that can really throw a spanner in this championship, because they're on the track. They're fighting for nothing. They don't care. They're literally pick them up, stick them in your pocket, son. I'm going for it because I'm not in the championship. Harris, Lazarus, Mazzomo have all got to be a little bit more careful because of that situation. Gardner is on I've just got to go. Like, you know what I mean? You've got to go and that's it. That's all there is to it. So she's in a great position at the moment because she hasn't got that pressure of being up there. She's playing, you know, she's like the lion chasing down the gazelles at the moment. And that's what she's got to do. So for me, I'm not going to count her out just yet. Not yet.
I'm not going to either. I think it's really going to depend how well she does here tonight, because that will obviously then make it viable if she can actually contest for the championship next week. I mean, there's only a certain number of points on offer, so there's only a certain number of points she could beat another driver by. So if she's too far away from the lead of the championship, then she's not in contention, obviously. So she's gonna have to outperform all 3 of them tonight to remain in this championship battle towards Belle Isle next week, as Jaden Wilcox finds his way off the track. I think one other factor we have to think about as well. So Lazarus is out there as a privateer. He's got no backup in trying to win this championship. He has to do this on his own. Daniel Harris, who does have a teammate in Jared McLeod, is on his own tonight because Jared has injured his wrist, so he cannot race for 60 minutes at Indianapolis. So Daniel is on his own. Mazzomo has got the support network of his teammate Craig Schultz and Jaden Wilcox, who are currently positioned ahead of him in qualifying. But I'm sure if it came down to it, they know that he's in contention for this championship. If they had to, they would give up the spots to keep him in front of Harris and Lazarus in this championship battle. So he's got the backup of teammates where Harris and Lazarus are having to do it on their own. And maybe it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but I don't know how willing Harris is going to be to work with Lazarus to try and fight off Mazzomo and the rest of the 9.5 Sim Sports cars.
Well, it's down to that situation where they either decide that they're going to help him, or they sit back and still think that it's all, you know, it's all for them. They can still go. Now, most teammates, and I say most teammates, would allow the guy to go through, right? You know, Schultz is in front of Mazzomo. as well. So Schultz technically should let them go. Wilcox, Wilcox is in their team, I'm going to presume, is he?
He is. He is. Yeah, he moved there. I believe 2 rounds ago was when he changed. So it was either Phillip Island or last week at Road Atlanta was his first race with the team, I believe. So he is a part of that team, which would then, he's not in the championship battle. Schultz is in for a shout at maybe a top 5, but I think knowing their game plan and knowing how that team operates, they're going to want to try and support Mez as best they can to try and win this championship. Mez, though, is as honest as they come. He'll probably say to them, no, don't worry about it. I'll race you for it. I want to earn it. I don't want to get given it. But, I mean, come on. You're racing for a championship as well. You want your teammates to help you out sometimes, surely, especially when it matters most.
Yeah, I've never seen a racing driver who's not going to take help from their teammates. Like, you know what I mean? That's unrealistic. I think if the option was there where they had to move over, I think Mez is going to be like, thank you. You know what I mean?
Or they take the choice away from him and they lead him up to the line and they both just pull over and he streamlines past them over the line to take the positions. So, maybe that's the strategy tonight. Maybe they're going to help him save fuel and he can win this thing on strategy, because if he can get double toe off both of them and save fuel and maybe even bump draft them down towards turn 1, well, that's going to save him even more fuel as well. That's another factor of, if you can find a strange bedfellow out there who will be willing to bump draft with you, that'll help you save fuel. Not everyone's going to be willing to do it. So Mez has got 2 people who could put their hands up and say, we'll let you bump draft us and you can save fuel off both of us. So he's probably, for me, in the best winning percentage at this stage. I mean, he leads the championship. He's got teammates out there. He's got people who can help him. And I think that, he's got people who can take the fall for him in terms of giving up positions, so then he can get them for free if he needs to. As David Duddle, I've just seen, has gone up to P4, so he's got some great pace out there, 127.99. That's right, Mez is not going to do it if he goes wide at turn 1 and ends up off the track as well. So times are coming in fast. We've got about 3 minutes left of qualifying. It's Daniel Harris who sits on the provisional pole at the moment. Lazarus on the front row. Wilcox, Duddle, Schultz, Mazzomo, Cordier, Wilson, Gardner's into the top 10, and then Tim Nicol in P10 at the moment for Quantum Racing as well. We have got some debutants coming in next season to this series as well. Just quietly, James. Lead CRS Chief Race Controller Greg Favell has signed up to race in Season 2. So it means that we will be getting in a new Chief Race Steward. We have already had conversations with people to come in and take over the position of Greg, which is massive shoes to fill. But Greg is a very talented racer, and he's excited to get out there and fight these drivers for a championship next season, which we look forward to seeing him have a crack out there and see how well he does against them. But he may have a target on his back, being the voice of penalties for Season 1.
I did hear that Michael Massey is still available. Just putting it out there. If he needs work and he's got to accept the job,
maybe. I have also noticed too, as we get into the dying embers, Lazarus has stolen pole from Harris at 127.18. Wilcox has also found his pace, 127.34 in P2 now as well. So Harris is back down to P3. Duddle and Schultz in the top 5. The championship leader needs to find a 27 on his final attempt in qualifying if he hopes to get into the top 5 here in qualifying tonight. Now, the beauty is, because it's a 60-minute feature race, they will have over the 15 minutes to finish a lap. So as long as Mez starts his next lap nice and clean, because he appears to be on a warm-up lap at the moment, then he will be able to finish it and get a charge in towards the front of the field. But how much pace does he have left in him? We'll have to wait and see. Might need to get Wilcox to tow him around for that final attempt.
Yeah, he's going to have to get some help, I think, if he can. If not, well, he is where it is. This is the thing. Qualifying can throw so many spanners in the work. And the only thing that he's got to rely on is either his teammate or his pace.
Yeah.
And that's it. And, this is the thing for this as well. They've got to do something. And unfortunately, the teammate situation is not going to happen either. So he's all on his Todd at the moment, trying to set a time there. Elliot Price in YouTube chat. Good luck to everyone, but my fingers are crossed for Ellie to have a good run tonight. Would be absolutely awesome for her to finish the championship on the podium. Nice to see some different drivers enjoy qualifying in top 5. I do agree with that, Elliot. I think it'd be nice to get some different drivers in there as well. I do also like the fact that you're cheering for Ellie, kind of like you have to, otherwise the sofa's going to have your name on it. I don't think you're going to be cheering for anybody else.
Might be a handprint on the back of Elliot's head if he wasn't cheering for Ellie in this one.
If he didn't mention Ellie, I think he's liable to A, not be there, and B, be single, or C, possibly sleeping on the sofa. So, maybe he's got no choice on that one.
Quite
I think fair play.
So on board with Mez now as he attempts his final lap to get inside of the top 5. He has gone green in Sector 1. Sector 2 not looking much better at the moment for him. Bit of a wiggle through Turn 8 as well as he runs up through 9 and 10. He's just going to get this thing planted out of 11 to maximise the run through 12 and 13 towards the start-finish line. Can he get it done? Is the 27 there? I mean, he's less than a tenth away on his best lap time. He just needs a 27.9 and he will get into the top 5 in qualifying. As he comes up towards the line, Simon Mazzomo, the championship leader, the last car to cross the line in qualifying. Is he going to be in the top 5 or is he going to be knocked out by his own teammate? It's only a 28.14. The middle sector cost him. And he is starting on the 3rd row, but it's outside of the top 5. It was a fair effort, though. Very fair effort.
Oh, no, I agree. He gave it all he's got, but unfortunately, it is what it is. Jaden, let's go Mezzi. Mate, you could have stayed out there and given him a hand.
Yeah, you could have given him a toe.
Could have
given him a toe on the last lap there, Jaden. I mean, I don't know if it would have helped him.
Man, you left to drive around on your own.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I suppose at the moment, Mez could be corrected P4 in the standings if Jaden and Craig get out of his way off the start line. So P6 maybe not so bad. He's only got one driver or two drivers ahead of him that are not on pole that aren't his teammates. So not such a bad effort. Qualifying will come to an end though. Now the timer is done and dusted. We wait for the changeover to the grid time for these drivers here this evening at the Brickyard here for Indianapolis as well. We've currently got polls up if you're watching post-race and you haven't seen it yet in the Discord. We have a poll up in the Discord in the Future Series Polls channel where there are 4 series on option for a future premium paid series. So to match the VRS Porsche Cup Series is a premium paid series. It's one of our it's our front-running series. We want to start up a second one in Season 4 of iRacing this year to be our 3rd season at the IRWC. The options we currently have on offer is the Ferrari Challenge with only 1 vote at the moment. The Dark Horse Challenge, which would be the GTD Mustang, is a 1-make series with 5 votes, or 6 votes at the moment. GT4s with 8 votes at the moment, and then GTEs with 9 votes. And I've just seen that you voted for that, James.
I did, yes. I prefer the GTEs.
Yeah, that's fair.
What day is it going to be on?
It'll be Wednesday, so wouldn't really work out with that current schedule, would it? Yeah.
No, my schedule don't allow me to. However, I would purposely buy the 4 GTE just to go and have a go.
Maybe we'll make it Tuesdays. We're figuring out our timeline of when we want to run things.
Mate, unfortunately, all my Aussie times in the morning are manic apart from Friday. I've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday's the only day, and I was going to drive the NASCAR.
Oh, well, you could do the NASCARs then. You could do the NASCARs.
I could do the NASCARs.
Yeah.
But then the rest of my life just goes out the window because then I got UK in the evening and America after. So,
Yeah, very true. Starting grid, though, for round 9 here this evening. Corey Lazarus will start pole ahead of Jaden Wilcox on the front row of the grid. Daniel Harris, David Duddle will then start on the second row with Craig Schiltz and Simon Mazzomo starting for an all 9.5 Sim Sports third row of the grid. Nico Corgier, Paul Wilson for your top 8 with Ellie Gardner and Tim Nicol making up the top 10. Dan Patrick and Shannon Fever will then make up the top 12 on the grid with Ernie Toth, Alex Schuller, Stuart Patterson, Matt Tesseriero, Johnny Rowe, Adam Hughes, Aaron Smith making up our 19-car field here this evening. Our race controllers, as always, Greg Favell, the CRS, Jack Anderson as the offsider, and the safety car driver, Lucas Burt, back out there once again. So 60 minutes of racing, 19 cars, should get some top battles, and there are championship implications on the line for who was 2 rounds ago the championship favourite, Corey Lazarus. Last week it was Daniel Harris. This week it's Simon Mazzomo. Is it going to change again before we head out to Belle Isle next week? The questions will be answered in about 60 minutes' time when we go racing.
Hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be exciting. Who is going to come out on top and who will not come out on top? That's going to be the question.
It will indeed. I feel there is a real electricity in the air whenever you come racing in Indianapolis. No matter the layout, no matter the car type, whether it's Indy cars for the bowl, whether it's sports cars for the regular road course, or just really weird manic layout combinations of Porsche Cups and the old 2009 road layout. I feel like you get a little bit of everything whenever you come here, and it's always exciting racing at this circuit as well. Would you say Indy's more famous than Daytona at this point, James, or do you think maybe Daytona's a bit more famous?
If you go to anybody and go, give me one oval, they'll either say Daytona or Dega.
Yeah, true.
That's it. Nobody recognises Indy for road.
That's true.
And they recognise it more for ovals.
That's very, very true. Lights are up, though, for 60 minutes of racing as we are underway. It's a horrid start from Duddle off the second row of the grid. The scramble towards turn number 1 begins for the first time this evening as Lazarus leads the way. Harris and Wilcox side by side towards turn 2. Mazzomo's gotten past his teammate as a multitude of cars lead themselves through 1 and then turn 2 as well. It's Lazarus who will lead us away off of turn number 1, 2 and 3 and down towards 4, and the run around the extended part of the circuit towards turn 5 and 6 as well. But the breakaway from the top 6 has already occurred as Nickel is up 3 positions off the race start.
Yeah, Craig Schultz in behind that, just got a big old lock-up as well with Duddle in there, Nichols there, Cordier's there, but Lazarus done what he had to do. He had to escape, and he's done that. We've got Harris with Wilcox. Is Wilcox going to play the team game and hold him up? Because he's got 2 of them tucked in behind him at the moment, and he really needs Mez to go past this one at least here. So he's got to play this game at the moment, Wilcox. He's got to hold him up enough, take the corners a little bit slower than you need to, just bring him in a little bit there, bit by bit by bit. Don't leave the door open, but just make sure that you're not making it difficult.
Yeah, and I think the beauty is for Mez, he can afford to lose this race to Lazarus if he finishes P2. He can't quite afford to lose to Harris because the gap is already so close. 9 points separate them. At the moment, though, he is still obviously in a championship winning position. He just needs to finish on the podium tonight, does Mez. So does Harris, so does Lazarus, as Harris goes for it up the inside at turn 1 on Jaden Wilcox. Gets the job done, swiftly moves past, and now Wilcox will continue to apply the pressure here on Daniel Harris as they run up through turn 3 and 4. There's been a couple of movements towards the back. One of the biggest losers of the race thus far is Dan Patrick, who's been off the road already. Let's have a quick gander at what happened to him. Oh, no, it's not going to let me select it because passes are being made. This is not the moment we want. We want this one right here. There we go. That's, ooh, snap oversteer. And round she went. Luckily, didn't hit the wall.
No, definitely not. Unlucky for him. But the action's still taking place here as these guys continue to go there. Tim Nicol, Cordier's going around the outside. Gardner's making up a position as well here. It's going to be a great job for all of these who's going to be able to go forward, I think, on this one. They don't want to be going backwards. That's the worst thing that could be happening to them. But for Ellie, moving forward is the priority. There isn't a backwards in her vocabulary at the moment. It has to be forwards, and that's the way she's got to go. But obviously on the option is she's got to go quick.
She does indeed. Mazzomo is looking to come past his teammate Wilcox down towards turn 13. So now Mez is up onto the podium. So the championship leader looks to chase down Daniel Harris and Corey Lazarus and maybe, just maybe, get himself a race win here tonight. The weather up on your screens now. It is a hot circuit in Indianapolis tonight. 53 degrees track temp, 30 or roughly 30 degrees ambient temperature as well. No rain on the horizon. It is dry temperatures at the moment as Gardner looks to get it done on Corgier as well as they go door to door through turn 2. She's trying to get it through at 3, but she's not quite close enough this time by. Maybe able to get it done down at turn 8 if she can get the run through 7.
Yeah, done. Great job. In through 4 now, coming into the left-hander or a 5. There's going to be able to get this done. It's got to close forward. It's got to get Cordier soon. Runs it in a little bit hot, unfortunately there. Does go a little bit Pete Tong through the right-hander now on that run. down into the left hand, is battling in behind her as well. Nichols is there, so, Shannon's in there as well. So action still coming aplenty here. Duddle's got his own little situation going on a little bit further up, and if Gardner can capitalise on this, she's got to get Cordier and get onto this, because at the moment Duddle, Shorts and Wilcox are still fighting. Mez has gone through on Wilcox, but what Mez didn't want is Harris to get through at the same time, and unfortunately that's happened.
Yeah, so now the chase down begins for Mazomo. The heartbreaking moment of this race would be for race leader Corey Lazarus as if we get a safety car, but Harris is chasing him down and he's getting closer and closer to tow range. In fact, he's in the tow range now. It's around about 0.8 of a second. So Harris has now got the tow on Corey Lazarus. Mazomo's a further second and a bit back, so he's still got some work to do to get into the tow range on both of them. But if Harris and Lazarus start fighting, just watch, because Mez may start to sneak his way up onto the back of it once again as Nico Cordier goes around at turn 2. And Matt Tesseriero and Dan Patrick have also been off the road as well and avoiding action. So we saw Cordier and Nickel battling just before this moment happens. Let's have a look here. So Gardner, oh, he just went wide and spun it on his own. There wasn't even any contact, and then got a bit caught up by that one. Then maybe they thought that Cordier was going to rejoin in front of them.
Yeah, I think they just checked up and hoped for the best, I think. But for Cordier now, not ideal for him, but ideal for her. Get on the back end of Duddle, go for it. He's having a bit of a ding dong with Schultz a little bit further up as well. He's slowly losing time to Schultz, so that should bring Gardner be able to close that time, but she's going to have to go some here as well. So there's going to be lots of options on this one. Jaden Wilcox, lap 6 safety car. Well, only if you cause it, we could end up with one. Let's hope we don't. But this is where Gardner's now got to try and make up as much room as possible.
Please don't give us a crash gate scenario, Jaden, where you deliberately crash the car and the safety car comes out. If we're going to get a safety car, I'd rather it's going to come from a genuine incident that happens. I don't want deliberately making your prediction correct. Please, I implore you to not do that. But, I mean, the 9.5 guys, they're running a smart race at the moment. They've let Mez through. Of course, he's leading the championship, so they want to try and give him as many points as possible. And they're now the rear gunners for him, holding off the drivers in behind and allowing Mez to just fight his way forward. I wonder, actually, if Wilcox is going to go with him here to help him kind of tag team up against Harris and Lazarus at the front and let Schultze be the rear gunner at the back of this little three-way, or this little trio that makes up the back end of the top 5.
Yeah, it's really hard now because Mez isn't really making an impact going forward. Wilcox is making an impact on him. Nickel and Gardner are running near enough side by side at the moment. Wilson's got Fever and Toff tucked in. So at the moment, there's a couple of battles that are materialising, but it's how these guys are going to deal with this. Mez and Wilcox can't fight. They are the only people limited at this moment in time. They need to take Mez forward, and the only way they're going to do that is bump draft him. Harris and Lazarus are now together by about 3 tenths. So the leaders are having a battle as well, which is what Mez needs. So there's a lot of stories and a lot of chapters that are getting written here at Indy at the moment. And for one, Harris and he's not going to even go, is he? He's just going to bump him along.
Yeah, of course he is. He did the same thing at Road Atlanta last week. He bump drafted with Mez and he ended up winning the feature race without even taking a pit stop in the 30-minute feature of the rush round. So Harris is going to save fuel. He's not going to want to try and battle Laz. So the smart play now for Mez and for Wilcox is they need to swap and change positions every lap and bump draft. That's pretty much what it needs to be. Mez has given up time to Harris and Lazarus, so now he needs Wilcox to slot in front of him and just fuel save, just to cut down on the pit stop, but also to gain the time down the straight from the bump drafting, which will then allow them not only to close the gap, but will then counteract the fuel save from Harris here, because if Harris is allowed to fuel save for free with Lazarus, Harris is going to win this race because he's going to come out of pit lane well ahead and he's going to be in the best possible position to take another race win. So Mez now has to counteract it. It's simple as possible. It's what got Harris the win last week at Atlanta, and if he's allowed to do it again this week for free, he's going to win at Indianapolis. There's no doubt about it in my mind.
Yeah, the thing is with these two is, have we seen them work together all season?
Well, I saw them crash lap 1, turn 2 last week of race 1, so there may be some fire under the bellies for that, but I think Harris he's going to be happy just to sit there. Now, there may be a point where Lazarus does not want to let him sit behind him, and he will just eventually just let him go. He'll just move over and pull up, lift off, and let Harris go through, because he won't want to leave Harris directly behind him for the whole race. Obviously, remember, we're only 10 minutes in. You don't want to do it for another 20 minutes before your pit stop, where then you've got to let, he then takes the advantage and he comes out ahead of you anyway. So if you're Lazarus and Harris is going to keep doing this, you're either going to let him go and tuck him behind him, or you're going to try and hold him up so Mez catches you, because Mez is now going to second. So I have a feeling that Lazarus may be holding up Harris through some of these tighter sections where Harris has been right on the back of him. So this could be a three-way battle just yet, James. We'll have to see how it materialises. Still a long way to go. Still 50 minutes of racing to go. Anything can happen here at Indianapolis. And I think if we're going to get a safety car, it's going to come from either a blown engine at the end of the main straight, or it's going to come from somebody crashing on the main straight, because it's just so open here that if someone blows their engine in the infield, they're going to be in a safe spot to tow. So the only way I see it happening is if they're blocking the track at some point in an unsafe position, which more than likely is going to happen on the main straight down towards turn 1.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Harris has just got to make sure that he's pulling out every now and then, getting the air tucked in to the front of that machine as he's just bumping him along here. The problem is the gap to Mez is still coming downwards. It's not actually going the long way. They're doing that, and he's managed to get the gap down to about 8/10. So the draft clearly is strong here. And at the moment, Harris let him go a little bit late there. Lazarus couldn't quite get it stopped, went in a little bit deep. That's going to bring the gap down to less than half a second. Wilcox is going to want to get involved with this at the same time here. But it was that push from Harris going into turn 1. He didn't release him quick enough. And unfortunately, Lazarus ran in deep. That's why the time between Mazzomo and Harris has come down so much.
Yeah, so Mez is now within tow range of Harris. By the end of the lap, Wilcox is going to be within tow range of Mez. So we're eventually going to get this little 4-car draft train happening, where the person who's going to be able to save the most fuel is going to be the guy at the back end of the train, which right now would be Jaden Wilcox, because he's getting the most of the slipstream. And Lazarus is going to get hung out to dry. Now, they are catching some lap traffic of Aaron Smith, who's been off track a multitude of times tonight already. We're not going to show it just to not compound the pain any further. He is trying to learn. He is the least experienced driver in the field. But he's still out there having a crack, which I then implore anyone else watching who wants to race next season, get out there and have a go. There's going to be someone to fight every single week for you as well. We'll be having conversations with VRS about how we can explore options to get a class system running. Now, it may end up being that if we were to get 3 classes, as Harris goes for it in towards 1, Lazarus is going to give it to him. Remember, we said he won't want to let Harris sit behind him all race. He'll want to let Harris go and then tuck up in behind him himself to save some fuel. So this is now going to be a fuel save game for these 4 drivers, and the battle's going to come down to it at the end of the race. So if we explore classes, then it may mean if we go to 3 classes, for example, as Tim Nicol and Paul Wilson a bit off the road at turn 2, that then some of our VRS prizes would actually go to the class winners, not the top 3 on the road. So drivers are knocking off the road at this stage. It is a hot circuit. It's a tyre killer as well. What's happened here? There's been contact with Paul Wilson and Tim Nicol. So Race Control will be having a look at that one to see what has come about of it. And then let's see what happened to Adam Hughes as well. And it's at turn 1, so it looks like... Oh, he's just over-rotated. Yeah, over-rotated it in. Flick spun it round. Kept it off the wall, to be fair. And gave the fans off the side of the track there a nice little show to watch as he tried to get that car back on track.
That may have something to do with the curb in turn 1 as well. That probably wasn't ideal for him. He hit the curb on the way in there. So, unfortunately for him, that unsettled the car and around he went. And, well, there wasn't a lot he's got to do now. He's just got to try and come back through the field as much as possible. But the front 3, Harris, Laz and Mazzomo, still continuing to fight.
They are indeed off the back of Harris's car. So Lazarus just a little bit further back off of the rear of the car. Big fuel save into turn 1 for Daniel Harris. We heard him lift nice and early before the braking zone. So he is trying to fuel save. I would think all 4 of these drivers are trying to... Oh, no, don't blink on me like that. All right, good. It's back. Whew, scared me for a second there.
Nothing like a individual you go on and then you start blinking. You're like,
luckily it wasn't the mass, blink on and off like an eyelid. It was just everyone disappeared and then they came back. So that's fine. That's all right. So we can keep going. Luckily. So Harris leads the way. Lazarus P2, Mazomo, Wilcox, Duddle makes up the top 5 now. He's gotten past Craig Schultz. Ellie Gardner's now on the back of Schultz here, so she looks to chase down a top 6 position at the moment. Alex Schuler has been passed by Nickel and Wilson in the background as Tesseriero's gone off track again. So he is really struggling out there in these hot conditions. A reminder, although the track temp has come down, it's down to 46 degrees now, so maybe by the last half of the race it's not going to be quite as hot, and there may be a little bit more grip out there on offer for these tyres as Johnny Rowe has gone round as well. So was there contact with Dan Patrick, or is it another self-spin in the Porsche? It looks to be another self-spin. Did he catch the curb? Yep, turning a little bit too hot, and round she went. Now, some drivers have spoken about it's not worth taking tyres because they do it separate to fuel, but because the tyres are going to be wearing so hard tonight, do you think it's worth it if you can save enough fuel where you can take tyres as well, James? Because if these track temps are coming down, if you can be on fresh tyres at the end of the race, you're going to be in a really, really good position to attack the drivers ahead of you, who may be then down on pace because they're on old rubber, all of a sudden with more grip on the circuit available.
I think with this circuit, tyres would well be an option. Okay? I think it's got to be, because of the way that Indy chews them up, it's got to be an option for them to sit back and go, okay, I might have to take tyres here. Because the freshness of the new rubber would really benefit them. Do you know what I mean? And how they go about it. So, yeah, let's see what they get up to. You've got to be brave if you take tyres. That's fine. But also the fact that it could be a barnstorming option.
Yeah, I think it's if you get a safety car, and it's around the pit stop, you come in and take tyres maybe. I think it's going to depend how much time are you going to be giving up by taking those tyres versus how much you can gain back from having the fresh tyres as well. So that may have come into their preparations for tonight's race. I mean, we can obviously see, the front 4, they're not willing to battle just yet. They know there's a long way to go. They want to try and keep themselves, in tip-top form, save tyres, save fuel, and really prepare themselves for a pit stop in this race. Further back, we can see that Gardner's still hot on the heels of Schultz at the moment. So these guys could start battling. If they can work together and get up to the back of David Duddle, we can then get a nice little 3-way battle pack happening as well. And then Tim Nicol remains in the wars at the moment. He's trying to chase down Paul Wilson. They made contact earlier in the race. Let's see if Race Control have commented on it yet in the Race Control report, if I can. Let's have a look here. There's a post-race points penalty coming the way of Paul Wilson. So because it was minor contact, they've determined it's only a post-race points penalty, not a drive-through. So they continue on. So we'll see if Nicol can get back past him.
Yeah, he's going to have to try now something a little bit different. In theory, the main overtake should come off the run out the banking at the end, and it should be done by the time we get down into turn number 1. Okay? That's really how it should work. The draft at the moment, what's he got at the moment? 1.1.
Yes,
he's going to pull it in by the time we get him straight.
It might actually be only 1 second for the toe because of the aero on these cars, so it might actually be a little bit nicer. I think he's
gone the wrong way.
Yeah, he's just outside of it, I think. I think he's just outside of toe range on Wilson at this stage. I have seen as well, Ellie Gardner's now gotten past Craig Schultz, who had a minor off track, as well as the fact of Mazomo. And look at this battle pack occurring. So these guys are really starting to heat up the front. Wilcox has made contact with Harris. Contact with Harris. Big championship implications at this stage. Harris is not going to be happy with that one, and I don't blame him. because that's arguably now taken Daniel Harris out of the fight for the race win tonight and is going to put him on the big back foot leading into Belle Isle next week. He's got a lot of work to do over the next 40 minutes now just to salvage something out of this race, James.
Yeah, but how... I'd love to see a top version of that to see which way that went, because it does make you wonder where the contact was, what the squeeze was. You know, the free wide wasn't a good idea in the first place, to be blatantly honest with you. So, you know, they've got to make sure that there's going to be more to it. Let's have a look. Does he just randomly dive him here? Well, he's in the middle with loads of room. He's still turning left, mind you. The gap to Lance is closing.
Let's go back here, because this will give us a good indication. Oh, he's just punted him round. I think he's just overdriven into the back of the car. That's a really odd one.
We'll leave that for
we'll
RC,
leave that for RC. And Wilcox has now also taken the lead of the race. So there may be a drive-through penalty coming the way of Wilcox. I mean, this is big championship implications. Harris has dropped back more than 5 positions. So if they find Wilcox at fault, it is almost certainly going to be a drive-through penalty. So it's a tough break, but I think for Wilcox now, he's got to accept he's going to have a penalty. And he's now just going to have to try and back up Lazarus as much as he can to put him under pressure from Mazomo. It's now also dragged, well, David Duddle slightly closer to this battle pack as well as Ellie Gardner. So anything could happen. The spanners have been thrown into the toolbox here, James, and it's still anyone's game. It could have happened. It happened to Harris. Could have happened to Lazarus. Could have hit his own teammate in Mazomo as Stuart Patterson goes round down at turn 11 before turn 12.
Yeah, the spinning is what we expected, though, isn't it? Because of the fact that, you know, we knew how tough this circuit was, and we mentioned it right at the beginning, how tough it was going to be. But this Lazarus, Wilcox, Mazomo, see what the implications are.
Well, they're going to be big. They're going to be big. Now, they obviously can't penalise Mez because, well, he hasn't done anything. It was his teammate that did that. So, but there will be clouds and controversy over the head of it. And Harris is going to be a very fired up man. I know this for certain. His stream may have just been lit up with...
profanities.
Yeah, profanities. I'll say that. It was probably profanities. There was a video I put in open chat of him screaming, and I'm almost guaranteeing you he's doing that once again after that moment. But luckily, he is only in P6. And he's chasing down Ellie Gardner. He's then just got to get past David Duddle, and he's back into the top 4. Race control is over the radio, and it's a drive-through penalty coming the way, I believe, of Jaden Wilcox. So Wilcox is going to have to commit to it now. He may run this black flag out when it's applied to him for the next 3 laps, and then he'll come in on the 3rd lap and drop back, pretty far. But that'll mean that Harris is now corrected inside the top 5. Gardner's in corrected P4, and Duddle is corrected onto the podium. So big implications, but a fair price, I think, for the crime that was caused by Jaden Wilcox on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you do something at the back, like that, you've got to, what's the saying? You've done the crime, now do the time.
Yeah.
So, that's what he's got to do, and unfortunately for him, and he's going to have to just politely suck it up, Buttercup.
And this is a long, slow pit lane as well, James. So he's going to be giving up a lot of time to come through pit lane to serve this drive-through penalty now. So it's, as I said, big implications, and he's going to have to commit to it. I believe they handed it to him before the end of the lap, so he's got until... Well, they handed it to him at the end of 15, so he's going to have until lap 17 to commit to the drive-through. Otherwise, if he continues on to lap 18, he may get disqualified. So probably go one more and then come through pit lane and serve that drive-through, Jaden, because you don't want to end up with a disqualification because you haven't served the iRacing black flag that's been handed your way. Well, he looked to do it that time, but he might be doing it this next lap now as they follow around for lap 17.
Yeah, I think he's trying to give Mez a little bit of a pull here to try and, before he does release him up to at least somewhere near, you know, Lazarus at the moment.
Yep.
And Wilcox has got him down to about half a second. Gardner's in pit lane.
Yep, so Ellie Gardner in. Early stop for her, so does this mean that it is a 2-stop race tonight? Well, you'd think so. She's gone to 25 minutes of racing. Do the maths, it means that they would need to pit again to get home, but we'll see. See how well this plays out as she comes into pit lane. Not taking tyres, it seems, only taking fuel. So maybe waiting to see if there's a safety car later in the race for her to take her second pit stop at and take tyres that time by, possibly. So Lazarus leads the way to Wilcox and Mez for your top 3. Duddle, Harris inside the top 5. Schultz, Toth, Fever, Wilson, Cordier. The top 10, Nickel, Schuler, Patrick, and then it's Ellie Gardner in pit lane with Hughes and Tesseriero, Patterson, Rowe, and Smith at the back of the field at this stage. So we'll see how well Harris can do. Still work to be done as Fever's at a slight slow run through turn 7, it seems. He gives up some positions there. What can Mez do now? For Fever.
Not a drive through, a slow down.
Oh, maybe. It might have been a slow down, actually, as Wilcox commits to the drive-through penalty, so he'll bring it through pit lane and swiftly bring that car out the other side. We'll see where he ends up as well. Duddle's in for his pit stop, so we'll see how this plays out. Harris moves on. He's now up onto the podium once again. I would say he'll be trying to save fuel to get this thing done in a 1-stop, because that's what's going to get him back up on the podium tonight, James, is if he can do this in 1 stop instead of 2. For this. So Wilcox doing that drive-through. Duddle's in for the stop. Wilson, Cordier, Nickel, Schuler all in as well. Fever has continued on going as Wilcox exits pit lane and has now served the drive-through penalty.
Yeah, and it's taken him absolutely ages.
Yep, it has. It's a long, slow pit lane, and he's only he's only in P7 because the next 6 cars are in pit lane for a stop. So he's going to probably drop back all the way to P14 or 15. When he takes his pit stop proper. So it's a tough break for him. Where does Gardner end up now in comparison? Because all these guys are through pit lane. She's still behind David Duddle, but she is ahead of that gaggle of cars in the pit lane at the moment. So has the undercut worked? We'll have to wait and see.
You're going to find out when the others go in.
That's right.
That's the problem.
So what do we think Mez can do now? Is it now that he just has to try and fuel save as Lazarus is coming in? So is Mez. So what does Harris do? Does he come through pit lane as well? He does. So they're only able to make 27 minutes roughly of fuel, even with saving. So they may need 1 more to get home. We'll have to wait and see how this pans out for them. Schultz is going another lap. So somehow he's going to make 28.5 minutes here on this fuel tank. Ernie Toth's in. Wilcox comes in as well. So we'll see how far back he ends up now. So where does David Duddle and Ellie Gardner end up? Do they jump Harris? Or is Harris managed?
They're on the run around the banking now.
Yeah.
So the others are still stationary in pit lane by the looks of it. They haven't started moving yet. They're still not moving.
No, and they
see now Mez is on his way out. Lazarus is on his way out.
What about Harris? Harris is still pulled up. Harris is now going out. So he's going to drop.
He's going to lose that position.
He's going to lose to Duddle. Is he going to lose to Gardner as well? Oh, it's tight. It is tight. Oh, Gardner. She wasn't prepared for him to exit pit lane.
Got distracted there.
Yep.
Completely missed the trick there for Ellie, unfortunately. Got distracted by the car coming out. She could have just ran that round the outside. Didn't. Broke late. And unfortunately, that was the end of that one. But that was just either getting spooked or not having the confidence in the car to get it stopped in time.
Yep. So now some work to be done for Gardner. So if we look at the pit stop times, actually, I think all of them took tyres possibly. Although I don't know. I don't know if they took them or not. Schultz is in. I'm not going to claim that I know. Because I don't. I don't know, honestly, if they took them. So Schultz in pit lane.
Yeah.
We'll see. Do we think now, because of the mistake from Gardner, does he end up in front of her off the exit of pits?
Ellie is currently in 6th place. She's just got onto the banking.
And Schultz is in the box.
Yeah, Schultz is still there. Still stationary. Gardner should be coming down now, practically full speed at the moment. Schultz still in pit lane. He will be for about another 3 seconds. She's going to be in the same situation that she was with Harris, but this time she's going to be able to get him a little bit more confidently. Through she goes. Cordier is running side by side with Toff at the moment. There they are. They're going too wide. A little bit door to door almost.
There's lap traffic as well.
One lap. Yeah, that's the 7 car of Aaron Smith, who of course is learning the car, so he's a little bit unpredictable at the moment. No offense, Aaron, if you watch this back, but you are, son. And then through the Cordier manages to get that position off Toff there as well. Always difficult when you're going over or going past a new driver, because you're hoping they've learned and you're hoping that they understand what they've got to do, but you're never really 100% sure.
No, you're never guaranteed, as we ride on board with David Duddle at the moment from the footwell of the passenger side of this Porsche Cup car. There's Daniel Harris, 1 position away from the podium. So it's not worked out too poorly for Harris at the moment. He's only losing points to Mez and Lazarus if he gets past Duddle here tonight, and it will still keep him within the championship battle. So he's within this fight still, James, and he's not too far away from them. It will mean that he'll have more work to do next week at Belle Isle, but there's plenty of racing still to come in this one. We're only at the halfway point, 30 minutes into proceedings as Harris and Duddle go side by side towards turn 1. And since we're at the halfway point of the feature race as well, we're going to take this time to thank our series sponsors, VRS Virtual Racing School, with a quick ad break coming your way. Don't go anywhere. Corey Lazarus leads in the last droppable round of the season with Mez and Harris on the podium. Who's going to come out the winner and take the advantage into Belle Isle next week? The question will be answered very shortly. We'll be back soon. Don't go anywhere.
These are the VRS Dark Force Pro pedals. So it's a high-end product, stainless steel construction with an industrial aesthetic. Very, very adjustable. All 3 pedals, the pedal faces in terms of height, depth, angle are fully adjustable, and overall pedal angle is also adjustable. Now, if we look at the throttle pedal first, we have quite a unique design here. So we have a rodless spring, which doesn't quite look right to the eye, but functionally performs extremely well. Absolutely no friction whatsoever, so really nice smooth response. And we have a lot of adjustability here in terms of initial starting force, preload, and also overall force and pedal travel. So if we move on to the brake, we have similar levels of adjustability, a very high-end, heavy-duty construction. We have the blue spring on here at the moment, which tolerates a 65 kilogram maximum force. Also supplied is the optional red spring, which doubles that to 130 kilograms. These are linear springs, which is not normally how a real-life brake pedal feels. So we have this very clever mechanism on the back here, which basically turns that into a progressive, more realistic feeling, which gives you quite a decent bit of travel for low-level trail braking, and then more of a ramp up when you're really braking much harder. And we have this tie rod at the top, which is fully adjustable, along with preload, so you can really fine-tune that exact force shape to your preference. On the clutch, we have a similar level of adjustability in terms of pedal face and also the shape of the curve. So we try to emulate a clutch plate, which is stiff initially and then flattens out as the clutch gives way. So that's emulated here with a small amount of adjustability, including overall travel as well. So we're very happy with this product, and we hope you are too.
We're back. Ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you to VRS Virtual Racing School for coming on board as the title sponsor of the Porsche Cup Series this season. Also want to give a big shout out to our other series sponsors, Infinity Broadcasting, for obviously broadcasting the series, as well as SPP Graphics if you're in the world of motocross or dirt bike riding and you want your bike to look as clean and sexy as possible before you cover it in mud. Shoot them a message over on Facebook and they'll be happy to help sort you out. And if you're in the iRacing world and you're after your iRacing sim racing paint to look as sexy and clean as possible, send myself, Hamish Munro, a message on Discord by way of Blackheart Designs, and we'll get you looking just as good before you end up putting it in the wall and dropping everything off the car. But no, it's all of our sponsors, SPP Graphics is linked directly below, same with VRS as well. Links to our Facebook page for the IRWC, the Twitch channel of Infinity Broadcasting, and the YouTube channel of Infinity Broadcasting also linked below as well. We're right on board with Daniel Harris, who has now gotten the job done over David Duddle and is up onto the podium once again, and it looks to fight his way forward in this race. After all the shenanigans though and all the pit stops, James Jaden Wilcox is still inside the top 10, so not such a bad loss for him, but obviously punishment pays, or crime pays, and he had to come through pit lane for that drive-through penalty, which saw him off the podium and outside the top 5 now. Gaps are starting to build at the front though. Could possibly use a safety car to get us nice and tightly compacted back together again. Otherwise, it may be another Corey Lazarus win here tonight, which brings him ever so closer to the championship lead once again.
Yeah, I think Lazarus 4.5 seconds in the bag. I don't wish for a safety car because at the end of the day, that takes away the skill that these guys have got by the fact that Lazarus has gone and opened it up, right? Would we want a safety car to bring the action back together? Absolutely. Why? Because otherwise it's going to be a JP and Hamish podcast for the last 20 minutes, right? Let's be real about it. But it is what it is, and this is the way that this circuit works. And there are a lot of circuits out there where you put faster cars on it and the racing isn't that good, but you put a Formula V on it and you get the best racing you've ever seen in your life. And that's where we roughly are at with this circuit. You know, I can guarantee if we did a fun race with a Formula V here, it would just be an absolute barnstormer. But this is racing. This is what happens, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think, you know, these cars can be quite difficult to figure out, you know, the best track choice for them. You know, I often say tracks like, you know, Le Mans, Nürburgring, Spa, those are best suited for an endurance race. Same with Bathurst as well, just because they're so long, and they all have, you know, long straights on them. So it's like eventually people will break away. But they can also create great racing for the slower car types, which often go door to door more often, especially if it's in a shorter race format, like our Rush format, for example, where there's not really enough time for the field to spread out. Now, with these 60-minute races, there's obviously learnings to be had of, well, what are the best sorts of circuits to actually set them to? Maybe it's the small circuits are best suited to the longer races, and the big circuits are more suited to the shorter race distances to shake it up a lot more and actually give a lot more option for racing, but also take away the factor of it's a short, tight circuit. It's short, sharp racing. It means drivers are going to be hungry to try and force positions instead of be patient, where if you're at a place like Indianapolis, if we're doing a 15-minute race here, well, you've got to try and make moves, but you can make moves because the tow allows you to. So, I don't know. It's a balancing act, isn't it? Figuring out what the best balance is of rush to sprint to finale to feature, and what that mixes well with this car and the track combinations that we would have on offer.
You're never going to get it right, dude.
No, I know.
I can tell you now, I've been trying to get, you know, doing leagues for 3 years now, and you're never going to get it right. You're never going to please everybody. You're never going to have somebody who'll turn around or the whole league go, actually, I really like that list. There's always somebody going to go, ugh, this is on there, or that's on there, or I'm going to stamp my feet because I don't like this one. It's always going to happen. And why are you putting this on here? Why are you? It's just like, you know, you're never going to get it right. Do I think, though, the idea of maybe having rush races on longer circuits could work? Absolutely. But you've got to try and balance the fact that you're not going to put an hour race at Tsukuba. You know what I mean? Because otherwise you're going to be in trouble.
No,
but you've got to kind of balancing it out that way. Do I love Tsukuba? Absolutely. It is an awesome little go-kart circuit. Nothing more than that, to be blatantly honest with you. But yeah, it's just finding the balance, and you're never going to really find it without upsetting somebody in the process.
Well, so to be fair to that point then, I mean, we have Bathurst on the calendar for next season, and we've made that a rush round to mimic the actual race weekend that a Porsche Cup race would have there during the 1000 weekend. So, you know, 2 15-minute races at Bathurst with a 30-minute feature, all hell's going to break loose. I can already tell. It's going to be chaos, But I think it's going to be great racing, and I think it's probably the best way that we could go racing at that track, because you either have to do a lot of small races there, or you have to do a really long race where strategy is important and keeping your car clean is important to keep the balance of normality. Where if you're having a 60-minute or a 20 and a 40, it doesn't always work out at that track. You know, because eventually you either get people spreading out, then they don't make mistakes, and then you don't have safety cars bringing back together again, or you have it where it's so condensed and it's so chaotic that you have too many safety cars and you never get good green running. So the opposite end of the spectrums, at least for Bathurst, are it's either short, sharp races or really long races that work well. In between, not so much.
That's it. You've literally hit the nail on the head, and when you finally realize that actually it doesn't matter what I do, somebody is going to be upset about it, you just carry on and go, right, we're going to do it, this is what we're going to do. If you don't like it, don't sign up, because at the end of the day, you can't please everybody, and you don't want to target one driver or one team or anything like that. And this is the thing. I think, you know, this season has been a success, and I think the track choice, do I like them all? No. But has the racing been good at most of them? Absolutely. So what's the problem? You know, and then we get to look forward to the final round of Belle Isle. What could go wrong there?
Well, I mean, turn 3 calls our name. As we can see as well on our screens, Daniel Harris is on the back of Simon Mazzomo, so the challenge for P2 begins for Harris and the championship leader at this stage. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on this one. What I think is that I'm happy to hear some, not necessarily negative feedback, you know, but feedback at least post-race when we've done the race, because then we can say, look, we've done it, has it worked, yes or no, what's the feedback on it, how do we feel about it? I don't want to hear feedback about a race and format combination before we go racing there, because otherwise we'll never know. We'll never know if it worked out or not. Sometimes you do know. For example, wouldn't want to go racing at Thruxton again? Fair enough, but we have raced there, so that gave us the answer.
I love that. I do love Thruxton.
It was for the one and probably only time we're ever going to race there. It was fine. It was fine. It was an okay race. But again, you know, we're obviously we're not going to make garish decisions where it's like, well, why would you do this? We're trying to make smart choices, but also choices that will suit the track or how we think it will suit the track. And you know, we want to be racing for a long time. We've got many seasons that we can test different things. We've changed the format next season for Hockenheimring and Belle Isle just to see how they work out. We've added the finale format now of 2 30-minute races for Belle Isle, and we're racing for 60 minutes at Hockenheim. So that may shake things up even more once again. And we'll just see how it plays out and see what happens and shield our heads from fire after the racing happens.
Yep. You just got to sit there and go, oh well.
Yep.
Never mind. Carry on.
So Will Cox is in pit lane. I have to wonder, so A, has he copped another penalty? No, he hasn't. So that then makes me think that, is this possibly a 2-stopper? Because they came in before the half an hour mark. It is a 2-stopper because Mazzomo's coming in as well. So does that mean that Harris and Lazarus need to be on the maximum fuel save to try and get home now? Or are they coming in the hopes to take tyres here? No, Wilcox did not take them. He only stopped for 6 seconds. So that makes me then think, because it's a limited fill of 35%, so they actually can't fill the tank all the way back up to the top of where they started. So that means that they were always going to need a little splash to get home, and they want to try and take the splash early here.
Oh! I presume that was somebody trying to get out of the way there.
Well, that's Aaron Smith just there. There's Adam Hughes, who had already had an incident. He had been off track.
Okay. So
yeah, so let's see. So he was already sliding.
Oh, he's going sideways.
Yeah.
Blimey. You can see that already. There was nothing new that he was going to do there apart from continue going sideways. So
yeah. So when do we think Lazarus and Harris come in? Or are they going to try and fuel save this to the end? Because I feel with 6 seconds worth of fuel roughly that they're going to need, they may need a safety car to save enough to get home. Otherwise, this is going to be a massive fuel save from them.
We're going to be close.
We will.
We're going to be close. There's either going to be somebody who's managed to save fuel just enough, or you're going to see last lap where there's going to be over the line.
Yep.
That's what you're going to get at the moment. Is either going to be somebody running out or somebody saving, or they may chance coming in for a splash and dash. But if they come in, then they're relying on the fact that everybody's in the same boat.
Well, Mazomo may be playing it safe here by pitting and just making sure he can get home as well. Aaron Smith's over the radio. I think he might have been calling Ernie. It wasn't even Ernie Toth. It was David Duddle past him. So we got some small battles on track between Wilson and Corgier for the top 5 positions, but corrected they would be outside of the 5 because Mazomo has pitted. Dan Patrick was hot on the heels of Tim Nicol. He's now dropped off once again as well. But the asterisk remains and the question remains as well, do the top 2 need to pit, or has Mazomo absolutely bottled an opportunity at a podium and the opportunity to lead the championship into the final round next week at Belle Isle? Ellie Gardner, what a great run from her tonight. She's up into the top 4. Corrected, she would be top 5. With a solid chunk of points on the board, it would mean she is still losing points to the top 3 and likely does take her out of the championship hunt at the moment. But if for any reason the top 3 couldn't race next week at Belle Isle and she could, she would then be in the position to take the championship because they cannot drop the final round and would have to take the big fat 0 that Belle Isle would offer them.
Why couldn't she race? Or why couldn't they race?
Oh, if for example, that they had an emergency or a technical issue or something. So there's no.
Well, that's a possibility.
They're not in the position. So none of them have raced tonight where they're in the position to get a penalty that would stop them from racing next week. They would have to accumulate. I think Harris would have to accumulate 9 license points in the span of 15 minutes. Which, if he were to do that, he'd likely get disqualified from the race. Lazarus would be in the same position. Mazomo would have to get 10 license points in the span of 15 minutes, so he would just have to start drilling people on track. So yeah, it would come down to a technical issue, or they had an emergency and they couldn't make it, or like a power outage or something. That's what would take them out of it. Just based on the fact of there's only a certain amount of points on offer. We're not getting full grids at the end of the season, so there's only so many points you can drop. And because it's a sprint round next week, there's no races where there's only a certain amount of points on offer. All positions will get points in the sprint and the feature race next week at Belle Isle. So there is the world, though, that they get disqualified and they get no points. So that is also an option as well, James. But she is fighting a massive uphill battle to get onto the podium of the championship next week.
Yep. No, I do agree. The mountain is climbing, but she's got to try and get somewhere near Duddle if she can. Wilson's tucked in at the moment behind Cordier here with literally 13 minutes to go. There should be a move done down into turn 1.
Oh, Cordier's in.
Cordier's going in pit lane.
So Cordier's in. Wilson stays out for another lap. Wilson has taken a podium this season. Took it at Thruxton. Got himself a 1-month competitive VRS subscription to boot for getting P3 on the road that day. He'd be hoping to try and get another podium next to his name as well if he could. But Duddle, well, he wants to maybe bring the challenge to the top 3 at the end of this season. He started late, but he has gotten some solid points as well. This would be a great points gain for him if he can finish inside of the top 5 tonight. Tim Nicol's also in. So I would expect, even through the fuel save, these front runners will need to pit. I don't know if they're able to save enough to get home on this no-stop strategy, but weirder things have happened.
They have, but the question is, these are top drivers.
They are.
Right? And they all know what they're doing. So, have they or have they not? And who's going to be able to hold this the most? Who's got the enough fuel to get to the end here?
Well, these top 4 have got a lovely gap over Paul Wilson at the moment. It's about 12.4 seconds back to P5. So they're pretty well locked into this top 5. But no one else is coming in. So it's becoming a very interesting prospect of, well, how far can you go how well can you do? You know, and how is that going to work out for you in this scenario? And has taking the second fuel stop worked out, or was it better just to fuel save and go for a no stop strategy? Well, we saw at Phillip Island, Lazarus attempted to go for the one stop, and it did not work out. He ran out of fuel on the line because his auto fuel didn't get him enough. He would not want to repeat that action because that cost him the lead of the championship and may cost him the championship if it happens again tonight. So he'll be keeping that in the back of his mind of, should probably get fuel if I need it, instead of risking the game of going for a no stop. But you also don't want to give up points to Harris, who has proven he can go in fuel stop strategy mode and do it in less than the allotted amount of stops that he would need on a regular strategy. So for the moment though, they continue on. 11 minutes to go. It's still anyone's game because anything can happen on the road, and fuel strategies can be, to be honest, a bitch to figure out. I mean, they can be the worst to figure out. Gardner's in though, so Ellie Gardner's committing to a pit stop. Duddle has stayed out, so's Harris and so is Lazarus. Does Wilson commit? No, he keeps going. Ernie Toth, what about him? He keeps going. Craig Schultz, he's going to keep going, but he's got his teammate Simon Mazzomo on his heels. So he's going to be able to give him a tow round and maybe help him gain some time over those drivers who are yet to pit in this race, as Gardner only just enters the pit box.
Yeah.
Oh, she overshot as well. No. She overshot it. A rookie error from Ellie Gardner. And that may cost her... it's not going to cost her a top 5, but it may have cost her an opportunity at a top 4. Because she's only now going to lose more time to Duddle, who'll be P4 when they're corrected if he needs to pit. So it's a mistake that was made, but it's one that she now has to commit to.
Yep. The worst thing that could happen. Literally. Well, right at the end of the race, that is not what you wanted.
I don't know about you, James, but the way that I try and mitigate those sorts of mistakes is I actually drive down the pit lane in the pit boxes. I don't drive down the fast lane. Because then I don't have to turn in and try and stop in the box. I can just put the brakes on.
Yep.
Especially if your pit box is very early in the lane as well as Duddle comes in.
Yeah, there's going to be, I think, a couple of others. Gardner really needed the opportunity of getting Duddle in this pit phase. I just don't think at this moment in time, what position is she in? Ninth. Well, she's only just coming into those. She's not even on the banking yet. No. So that cost her a couple of seconds for sure. Oh, at least.
Oh,
if we look, she's gone through and come back.
She took a 10-second stop. Mez's was 7 seconds. But the lane travel his was only 46 seconds. Hers was 55. So she probably gave up a good 5 seconds there just by missing the box.
At least. At least that.
And Duddle's already coming out.
Yeah,
he's already out.
Already on his way out.
So he's well and truly got her. She's going to get past Wilson. So it will be a top 5 position. But it won't be if Schultz can somehow save fuel and get home on only a one-stop strategy. It boggles the mind of how these strategies are now going to come together and who is going to be the benefactor of all of this. Could it be Mez by pitting early and getting this tow, but he has had to deal with traffic? Lazarus is in. So the race leader has had to commit to a pit stop, and Daniel Harris is going again. So how long now can Daniel Harris go with clear track ahead of him and fuel save this thing? I don't personally think he can make this home on a no stop. I do not see it happening.
Oh, we nearly didn't make it home at all.
Oh, that was tight. That was tight.
That's what Gardner should have done to him.
Yep. And Mez...
That's exactly what Gardner should have done.
So Mez is just coming round turn 13. Lazarus is in the pit box, but he's about to exit. And he's right at the end of the pit lane because he put the car on pole. So Mez is going to remain P3 for the moment. Is it going to be provisional P2? Or is it going to be P3 in this race? Well, you feel if Harris has saved enough, he may be able to take less than a 7-second stop. And the traffic is not helping Mazzomo at the moment. because it's only costing him time. So he's on the podium, but where on the podium is he? Is he P3 or is he P2? Time will tell. If Harris can no-stop this and somehow crawl across the line, I mean, he's got 30 seconds worth of time between him and Lazarus. If he does pit, he may short-stop this and try and save it to the end just to come out ahead of Corey Lazarus, as he is going to commit to the pit stop.
Yeah, he hasn't got a choice really, but he's got 30.4 seconds. So he's got to now get it in, get it stopped, make sure he doesn't make any mistakes, make sure he can trail it down as well, and make sure he can get in there, because at the moment, it's all dependent on this.
So it's the long run down pit lane for Daniel Harris. Corey Lazarus is just coming around turn 12. So by the looks of it, I think Lazarus is going to get him, because Harris hasn't even gotten into the box yet, and Lazarus is already coming around towards the main straight. So Harris stops. He's pointed the car at the pit exit. Is it going to be tight? He has short-stopped it. He short-stopped it by 2 seconds, and he's going to come out right alongside Lazarus. The short stop, I don't know if it's paid off or if he saved fuel and only needed that much to get home.
He's only got 5 minutes, 1:27 lap time. He's going to get about 3 laps here. So what's Harris going to be able to do? Is he going to be able to catch up and clear Lazarus? Can he do it carefully? Let's not forget, because obviously we don't want him having contact again. That's just a no-go. But anything can happen.
Well, this is exciting stuff of how these sorts of strategies can come together and how they can make or break a race. Was it a mistake for Harris to take 2 seconds less worth of fuel than Lazarus? Well, it's given him a lighter car, but does he now need to fuel save to get home? Well, if we follow him along, I don't know if he's saving necessarily, but he's really got to get this gap now down to about a second, just so he gets the tow range, James, because then he can at least save over the last few minutes and maybe put an attack on Lazarus at the front of the field.
He's got to make sure that he can get there now. That's going to be the question for Harris. 1.2, 1.26, 25, 24. It is coming down, but is it going to be quick enough with about probably 2 laps remaining here? Unfortunately, Aaron Smith looks like there's more drama. We won't compound that young man's misery anymore, and it's already kicked off here tonight. But Harris, 1.1 going into the infield, so he's definitely going to close up. He's closed up, but how close is he going to be able to get?
Well, he doesn't sound like he's saving by clutching in at all. It sounds, if he's saving, he's just short shifting at the moment and may rely on the slipstream to save the fuel in this car. So this is going to be as tight of a finish as we've seen this season. It's going to come down between 2 of the championship favourites for this race win. They're both going to gain on the championship leader. If they make contact and Mez wins, this is going to be an all-timer for the final droppable round of the season. Both of these drivers have taken a drop round thus far. Lazarus's drop round, yes, that's correct, was last week. Harris's was back at Thruxton when he missed round 4. So they both needed a solid performance tonight. And with 2 laps left to run, because I think they're going to cross the line with about 2 minutes to go, so they're going to have 2 more laps. 2 laps for Daniel Harris to put the attack on Corey Lazarus with a slightly lighter car and possible fuel save needed, although he's not looking like he's going for fuel save. He's riding the wall. Not riding it, but he's trying to get the side draft just to maybe gain a little bit more time on Lazarus here. I don't even know how to pick it, James. I really don't. It's anyone's game at this point.
Yeah, it is. This is where Harris now has got to show his strength. He's got to close in and around him into turn 3, then coming into 4 and 5. He's got to close up because they're only going to get 1 more lap here. This is all going to be nail-biting positions. This is obviously Mezin sitting in 3rd. Gardner has just lost that position to Cordier. Didn't really want to be happening. I think that could be the end of Ellie Gardner's championship run here, especially as the fact that she's not up near the front.
Yeah, it's a real tough charge for her. Couple of rounds she underperformed, and that may be then something she looks to improve upon next season. of maybe just getting a couple more points here or there that may have helped her this season, really put the challenge into the front-running drivers. But the fact that we've got 3 drivers within the championship hunt with 1 round to go means it's been balanced well, and it means that the championship fight is on between them. Next season, look out for Ben Pedersen. He's going to be a driver on the charge. He's going to be a driver who will try and fight tooth and nail for a championship. But this season, it's coming down between Lazarus, Harris, and Mazzomo, and with 1 lap to go, there is 2 tenths in it between Harris and Lazarus goes on the defensive in towards 1. Aaron Smith gets well out of the way. He does not want to be a part of this. But who's going to get it? Because Harris is going to be full push, and Lazarus is going to be on full push back in the defense.
Not long to go now. Into turn 4 to go. They've got left-hander a 5 all the way round. Harris is putting him under pressure. He's putting him under pressure. Is he going to be able to get there? That's going to be the question. Through the right-hander, we've got a run now. There is a little bit of a straight. The only thing that will save Harris here is that draft, if he can get that on the back straight.
Yeah, but it's such a short run to the start-finish line that he's got to try and get the run through turn 11 to be right on the bumper of Corey Lazarus for this final charge to the start-finish line. He gets balked up a little bit at turn 9 and 10, and as they run around turn 11, Harris is right there. He's got to try and charge this thing forward if he can. The final run to the checkered flag through turn 12 and up towards turn 13. Lazarus has pulled it onto the inside line. It's going to be nail-biting stuff right to the start-finish line. He covered the inside line to Harris and up towards the start-finish line. For Lazarus and Harris, it's only 0.03 of a second, and Lazarus has taken the win over Daniel Harris. Simon Mazzomo will cross the line in P3 with Duddle, Schultz, inside the top 5. Schultz doing it on the one-stop strategy, mind you. He didn't do a second pit stop, so he fuel-saved his way to the top 5. Cordier looks to come home in P6 with Gardner in P7. Championship hopes look to be almost dashed. Wilson, Ernie Toth, and Jaden Wilcox, after a drive-through penalty, will come home inside of the top 10 with Tim Nicol, Dan Patrick, and Stuart Patterson left on the lead lap with Tesseriero, Schuler, Rowe, Hughes, Smith, and Shannon Fever, the last non-finisher. Well, the only non-finisher of the race. But it's another race win for Lazarus, and it has kept the championship hopes alive once again. I feel like I may have no fingers left after Belle Isle, James, if I'm honest. It's getting too nail-biting for me.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very close, this one. We knew that run was going to be strong coming out. What I think may have not helped him as well, he come out very early on the exit. I think if he could have held in a little bit more behind him, he might have had that run. And then he went too far out to the left to try and get through. And there was a couple of moves that he probably shouldn't have done. So I think for Harris, it was looking like he may have just pulled out a little bit early.
So we'll have a quick look at the moment that really spiced this race up for us, and some may claim cost Daniel Harris the race win. It was Jaden Wilcox, as he looked to charge through the top 3 of his teammate Mazzomo, Lazarus, and Daniel Harris back on lap 13. He found himself 3 wide before turn 7, and unfortunately Daniel Harris became the one to get pulled out of this. If we put this at full speed, we'll see it. Here's the contact.
There was a brief little contact of Lazarus.
Yeah, there was just a little sort of door-to-door between them. But that there was a big controversial moment of this race, and one that I think, it obviously really put us into the front of our seats, or on the edge of our seats, as we said. Let's have a quick look, though, at the race results here for race number 1, or the only race tonight, the round results as well. Makes it easy to figure out who won the round. It goes the way of Corey Lazarus, who'll get the maximum 120 points on offer, ahead of Daniel Harris in P2 with Simon Mazzomo in P3. David Duddle, Craig Schultz inside of the top 5 with Nico Cordier, Ellie Gardner, Paul Wilson, Ernie Toth, Jaden Wilcox for the top 10, Tim Nicol, Dan Patrick, Stuart Patterson, Matt Tesseriero, Alex Schuler, Johnny Rowe, Adam Hughes, Aaron Smith, Shannon Fever, 21 laps down and not finishing this race here this evening as well. It was actually one of the cleanest races of the season, James, quite interestingly enough. The penalty sheet is actually quite small, which is good to see for once. We love to see that from them. I'm just double checking. That's not going to show me on that because I changed it like an absolute sped. So let me have a look at this. I want to do some quick maths because I want to figure out who's actually going to lead us into Belle Isle as the championship leader.
You're doing maths.
I'm doing maths very, very quickly.
Oh, dear me.
I just want to see what the points differences are. Oh, no, I changed it on that one too. Okay. I'll look at the rulebook afterwards and I'll figure it out. I believe Mez will still lead, but it is by a bare margin. It is by the barest of margins into next week. So, you know, this is going to be as tight as we could possibly ask for, I think. Actually, I have got a way of checking it. I can just do this. Let's have a look at the SRH and look at the round results, and it'll tell me the exact points per round. Yep. So Lazarus has gained 4 points on Mazomo, and Harris has only gained 2 points on Mazomo. So Mazomo, who led by 9, will lead Harris by 7, and will lead Lazarus by 4 less, so 18. So it's still anyone's game. We'll see how it plays out. We'll start though by having a quick chat with P2 on the road tonight, Daniel Harris. Daniel, I have no fingers left after that one. That came down to the absolute wire. You almost got to Laz, but he just covered that switchback on the final corner. Talk us through that race, because obviously through the frustrations, which we knew there were definitely some curse words pulled when unfortunately you were turned by Jaden, and the fight back through strategy to get yourself right on the back of Laz for the final lap. What was that fight back like? Because that there was as tight as we ever could have hoped for here at Indy, and it brings you a touch closer to Mez leading into Belle Isle next week, where all hell could break loose. What's your thoughts and how do you feel about it right now?
I mean, I'm pretty pissed off, to be honest. Without a doubt in my mind that if I had stayed on usual strategy that I had before getting spun, that I probably would have been able to take that win, considering I was on the back foot from then on. I had the quickest stop out of anyone in the second stop, and I also asked Corey what his left rear was at, and I had significantly more tyre. So I, without a doubt in my mind, feel like I should have won that. And, you know, with Jaden being Simon's teammate, it's just not a good look. I know it's probably not on purpose, but when you're fighting for the championship and one of your teammates takes out your championship rival, yeah, it's pretty frustrating.
Yeah, it definitely puts a cloud over it for sure, and I would know that those guys would obviously, you know, it's the worst position you could ever ask to be in as a teammate to someone who's in the championship battle. You don't want to be the person who hits their rival, and
there was a hip check coming off. Laz as well,
yeah, he did get a slight hip check, but
he got a hip check off Laz that sent him into you. It wasn't that way.
Yeah,
if you look back at a replay, there was a hip check off Laz coming into the corner, and then that sent him into you.
I have watched the replay, and I mean, I'm visible the entire time. He knows where the breaking point is. He knows where most people are going to break. So I don't feel like that's a valid excuse, but you know.
Well, I think it's
what it is.
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, we spoke about it on the broadcast, and I did say that probably. You know, it definitely could have cost you a podium. Luckily, it didn't, and I do think that you were looking very strong out there and capable of taking that race win, and it definitely put a strike on. Well, how easy was it then going to be for you to fight back? Well, it made it very difficult to fight back and made it harder for you to get the race win than what it would have been if that hadn't have happened, obviously. So, but you know, he did get a penalty for that incident as well. It's just a shame that it did come from a teammate of the other contender, which then obviously does murk the waters a little bit too, and I understand the frustrations. But Belle Isle next week is an X factor. It's a track that anything can happen. Anyone can end up in the wall anywhere. I mean, it's a concrete jungle. It's a circuit where anyone can make a mistake and end up in the wall. So you're well and truly within this fight, and it just means now that you've got a little bit more racing to do, but you're incredibly capable of doing it. So we'll see what plays out. But how are you feeling going into that race? Obviously, I know the feelings are a bit heated at the moment. I know that frustrations are high, but how are you feeling for Belle Isle? Are you feeling confident for that race and that you can take out this championship?
Yeah, I usually have a pretty good pace there. I mean, with the points, how they work, I mean, if Ben doesn't show up or, his teammates just kind of let him through off the start. I mean, Mez was up 3 positions. There's not really much I can do, even if I do win. So I'll just have to get lucky. It is a reverse top 10, correct, for the feature?
It is indeed.
Yeah, so there's pretty much just going to be that. Do you know the points gap? Because obviously it's just a feature.
Yeah, we did.
I would have gained, 1 point?
No, you gained 2. So you gained 2, so the difference is 7 leading into next week. So
even if I win, he has to finish what?
Well, if you took 120 points next week, he would need to get...
He finishes second both races and I finish first. What?
He would win. He would win.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you would need him to finish, I think, 4th and 5th, and you'd be tied on points, which would mean you would win on countback because you've won races. Yep. So that's the differential at play. You need him off the podium pretty much.
So he has to finish 5th or lower, basically.
Yeah, basically. If he finishes 5th or lower in race 1, it makes it a lot harder for him in race 2. So, but in saying that, the reverse top 10 could easily cause some chaos for him. He could get caught out with an incident at turn 3. That could then put him right back in the field, and if you survive, then
I'm expecting a huge incident there.
I just quietly I am as well. So we'll see how it plays out. But that's the test of Belle Isle. But you've had an incredible season nonetheless, Daniel, and I think you should definitely hold your head high. Incidents are incidents. It doesn't matter what happens. I think give it your best next week. You're within the shout and you're within the chance. So you've got an opportunity on your hands to win the title. Corey will be trying to win it just as badly. Mez will be trying to win it as well. So we'll see. Cream rises to the top, and the best will end up being the champion in the end. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So let us know anyone you want to give a shout out to, any sponsors or anyone particular in your chat that you may want to shout out as well, whatever it may be. And but congratulations nonetheless. P2 at Indy after what happened is an incredible effort to come back, and to get that is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, thanks to Jared. I know he wasn't racing tonight, but he was sitting in the spotters box and helping me out, which was good to have. Telling me temperatures and not temperatures, percentages of tires and all that kind of stuff. Shout out to Tuz in chat, Sebastian Prio, always supporting. Always nice to have an IRL driver supporting you. And yeah, Jack as well for just doing mod things and in chat. And I got to get up tomorrow morning at 8:30, 8 o'clock to do Racing Prodigy. So I'll catch you guys later.
No worries, mate. Thanks for coming over to chat to us. Best of luck in your race tomorrow.
Thanks for the broadcast.
No worries. Thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Alrighty. Cheers.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Corey Lazarus, who took the race win here this evening. I'm going to save Mez till last, just so we can break down that moment that happened. Corey, another race win for you, but in the tightest of conditions. Daniel mentioned that you had barely any tyres left at the end of that race. How are you feeling after it? Because I know last week was a difficult race for you. You come back, you take a win. Does it fill you with a little bit more confidence leading into Belle Isle next week, or do you think maybe... Do you think that one was maybe made a little bit easier for you thanks to Daniel being turned around, or do you think you had to really fight for that one in the end?
Definitely had to fight in the end there. super unfortunate for Dano there. When he went around, then it was sort of time to try and break the shackles and go hard, and I just burnt through my tyres way too hard trying to get ahead. And I'm not too sure what happened. Actually, I know what happened. My headphones started to die, and I was getting the warning signal, so I tried to plug them in down the front straight on one lap, and ended up like crouching over the wheel because my lead was too short to get my headphones, and I lost a couple of seconds there, and then I think I was a little too cautious going into the pits on that last stop, and I had, what was it, 4-second lead, and then all of a sudden come out the pits, and then Dano was like a second and a half behind me, and he had much better tyres, so I was relieved at the end. I think if there was another lap, I don't think I would have been able to hold on, to be fair.
Well, Belle Isle next week, non-droppable round. You only gained 4 points on Mez tonight, so you're still not in the lead of the championship. But you are that little bit closer. But with 18 points between you and Mez, you're going to have to hope that Mez maybe finds some trouble next week. Is there anything more you think you can do than that at this point? Because it's you went unfortunately you went from being the championship favourite to now being on the real back foot towards the last round of the season, which I've seen happen many a times before. But how has that played on your mind leading into next week?
Oh, it hasn't really. Ever since Road Atlanta, I sort of put a line through my name. The points gap was too big, really. Unless Mez has a DNF, which is, it's a tough track. Things can happen, but Mez is pretty level-headed. He doesn't need to do anything silly. He just needs to really finish. So, low expectations for us. We'll go and put our best foot forward, and we'll try and win the races. It's a track we really like. Got pretty good pace around there as well. So does Benny and so does Dan. So it should be a good final round, and we just got to do our best and try and get on the top step of the podium and hopefully get some luck. But it's an uphill battle.
So no matter what happens, can we expect to see you on grid for next season as well now that sign-ups are open?
I haven't committed just yet. It just depends on how the European calendar pans out. I really would like to, because this season's track list is phenomenal, and there's not a track on there that I haven't driven and don't love. So it would be disappointing if we didn't return, but it really all just depends on what happens with the Euro calendar at this stage.
Oh well, we wait to see what happens. We look forward to seeing how you go next week, and if you are able to end up on the top, it would be a fantastic effort if you can. No matter how far away you think you may be, there is always an opportunity to gain points. It's 2 races at Belle Isle, 2 opportunities for the championship leader to DNF. Anything could happen. Anything could happen, and you got to be in it to win it. That's the main thing. I know Dan was pretty heated because of what happened with Jaden. Understandable, of course. But if he's in it, he can win it. So it's the same thing for you. But let us know, Corey, anyone you want to give a shout out to, any sponsors you want to shout out, any friends or family that may be watching. For myself, James, and the rest of the league, congratulations on your race and round win here at Indianapolis.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks to yourself, Hamish, and James for the broadcast. It's always good to sit back and watch it afterwards. Big thanks to my wife and my mother and father-in-law, Hendrik and Kathy, who sit back and watch it all on the big screen. Thank you very much.
No worries, Corey. Thank you so much. Best of luck at Belle Isle next week. We'll see how you go, and if you end up being champion or if you end up being just missing out. We'll see, though. Anything can happen.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it, mate.
Thank you. Next up, we have P3 on the road tonight, and remaining the championship leader, Simon Mazzomo, Mr. Mez. Mr. Yes. I don't think I can win this championship. But all of a sudden, you lead the title race into Belle Isle next week in somewhat of a positive position, but I want to mention the elephant in the room and get your thoughts as well. Obviously, I know it's a very murky scenario, very contentious scenario. Unfortunately, your teammate, Jaden Wilcox, making contact with your championship rival, Daniel Harris. what was the thought process when that happened for you? Because I know that you wouldn't want to be in that scenario where your teammate takes out your competitor, but what was the thoughts?
I figured you were going to ask me that.
To be honest, I have to ask you, Benz.
Unfortunately, I'm going to be a bit of a wet blanket. Obviously, none of that was intentional. None of it was at all. And I can understand Daniel's frustrations, but that was not intentional. And that's all I'll say on it.
Well, I suppose it's you never want to be in the scenario where your teammate takes someone out like that. But also it's, you don't want to be the person who takes them out and you say, oh no, this is now going to make it really hard for my teammate who's trying to battle for this championship. So I can understand Jaden's perspective, I can understand Daniel's, and I can understand yours. So respect for that. Tough night on the road for you. P3 in the end, up 3 positions, so a good race for you. Solid chunk of points. Once again, you did give up some points to Laz and Harris, but you've done enough now to get a nice gap between you and Laz. I think it's around about 18 points. Between you and Daniel, it's about 7 points. So do the math however you will. Figure out wherever you need to finish next week. I believe it's if you finish on the podium in both races, you'll win. But, there's anything can happen at Belle Isle, especially with the reverse top 10 in race 2. But how was this race for you? Because it's obviously it turns into a bit of a tow train eventually, and it's a tough circuit. It was a hot circuit as well, where I don't think anyone took tyres. So what was the racing like for you out there for 60 minutes? Because it seemed like a proper slog to the end.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, initially we thought it's definitely going to be a fuel save race, but Corey went out the gates pretty hard at the start, so we're like, okay, righto, we're actually going to battle this one out. And then he checked it all up, and it was like, okay, yep, we know what's going on here. So we knew it was going to be a pretty big tall ask to do it. Craig, to his credit, actually did it. Only did it on one stop, managed to come in P5. So I thought that strategy was dead and buried, but no, he managed to make it work. But yeah, it just ebbed and flowed, and obviously after what happened occurred, it kind of just threw it into a 2-stop race at that point. Corey basically just took off and tried to break me as much as he could, and he obviously successfully did it. I just didn't know the pace to go with him. And then it just sort of was like, right, I've locked myself in here. I've just got to go as hard as I can. I was trying to sort of keep the gap as much as I could to Daniel, but he just had phenomenal pace, and he was just coming at me. So I obviously thought it was only a matter of time before he gets me. He came up behind me and then started fuel saving, and I learnt from Road Atlanta, I'm like, I'm not letting that happen again. So that's where I took the option to go to the stop, get it over and done with, and then I was just hoping and praying that no one else was going to try and make the run to the flag without stopping. So which happens. Everyone had to pit. So came in P3, which I think that was probably the most I was ever going to do tonight. I don't think I was ever really going to be in contention for a podium unless it was a fuel stop race and we could get a better strategy than everyone else. But I think P3 was the most I was ever going to get tonight.
Well, we were really scratching our heads at that strategy because obviously you and I believe it was you and Jaden were some of the first few to pit alongside Ellie, and we were like, oh, do the front runners need a pit? Do they not need a pit? And then eventually they came in with about 5 minutes to go, and we're like, okay, well now it's a push to the line, so anything can happen at this stage.
Yeah. After that first stop, I was showing like 12 litres at the end, and I was like, there's no way you're saving 12 litres in like half an hour. Like, it's just not happening. If you're not still on that save strat, you're not going to make it work. So I think it was pretty clear cut that everyone was going to be in. Daniel was probably the only question mark because he did a lot of fuel saving early on in the race. So I was like, maybe he's probably squeezed enough to either severely reduce his stop or maybe even try and cancel out that stop completely. So yeah, he was probably around the question mark. I didn't think anyone else was really going to have a chance at getting to the end without stopping again.
Well, Craig proved that wrong. He did it, but although I think he stuck to his guns, didn't he? He was sticking to that strategy, so that was why it worked out.
Yeah, he was full commitment. He sort of said after the first stop, he's like, it's touch and go. At this point, he's lost so much time. He's like, I've just got to go for it. So, and kudos to him for sticking it through. But yeah, I think he was obviously going to do it. Looking at everyone else's pace, he was the only one I think that was viable to actually get it done. Everyone else's pace was just way too quick. It was just never going to happen. So, but yeah, good on him for getting it done.
So what's the thought process and the strategy for Belle Isle? Is it hope and pray you stay clean in the first few laps of both the races and then push on and try and get the positions you need, or is it hell for leather?
Just finish.
Yeah.
Just finish. I'll be quite honest. The wind's been taken out of the sails a little bit, so just whatever happens, happens. If I win the title, I win the title. If I don't, I don't. Don't really care. I know I'll at least get P. At least I'll be top 3. Corey's probably going to be a bit too far back, so I'm probably safe in P2. But it's Belle Isle and it's a reverse race, so anything could go wrong around that place. It's one of those tracks. It can sort of work for you, or it can very, very quickly work against you. Especially if it's a reverse grid race. Yeah, there's going to be a bit of chaos. So really, look, stay out of trouble as much as I can. Just finish without an incident. And look, if it happens, it happens. Like, I can't do much more than that. I know I don't have the pace to run with either of these guys. If Ben's there, same thing. I know he's way quicker than me. I'm not gonna be able to box on with these guys. I've just basically got to finish without incident and just pray it's enough at this point. So, it is what it is.
Well, we'll see how it pans out for you next week. No matter what happens, we hope we can see you on the grid for next season again. Actually, I think did you already sign up again? You did.
Yeah, I've already signed up.
Okay, well, so if you win the championship, are you going to run the number 1?
No.
Okay.
No.
I like to ask that question because it's good to confirm whether or not you would.
Nah, I did it for one championship I won, and I think I probably had the worst season on record. It was just an absolute disaster. And then the next time I won a championship and didn't run one, it was substantially better. So I was like, yeah, I think that's enough for me to know. It's like if I ever get an opportunity to run number 1 again, I'll stick with my number, I think.
Fair enough then. Well, let us know, Mez, who helps get you out on track by way of 95 Sim Sports. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well. For myself, James, the rest of the league, as well as the other admin and Jack, congratulations on your P3 here this evening and remaining the championship leader into the final round. You're the final driver of the season who will have the orange number box next to their name. No one else can get the orange number box now. It's only yours because we're going to crown a champion next week. So let us know who gets you out on track. And yeah, congratulations on what you've done thus far this season and how well you've performed. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. Obviously, big shout out to the team, sponsors Racecraft, RSW Graphics, Track School Track Days, Racing Ears. Big shout out to my teammates, of course, Jaden and Craig, helping me get ready for this week and for helping me out in the race. And thanks, of course, to you guys and everyone for putting the league on. It's good to come racing on a Monday.
Well, Mez, we look forward to seeing what happens next week, and we look forward to seeing you come back next season as well. Enjoy the preparations for Belle Isle. Get ready for whatever warfare may come your way next week. We look forward to seeing how it plays out on screen, though.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. So a little bit dejected from Ez tonight, James, and I really feel for him. Nothing against Jaden, but as I said, I don't think Mez wanted to be in that position, and it's unfortunate now that's happened, but he goes into next week and we see what happens. We see if he wins it all or if it comes crumbling down and Harris is the one to topple him, or if Lazarus can somehow pull off a miraculous win.
Well, I've just sat here and I've watched this replay over and over again. At the point of contact, Will Cox's steering wheel was going hard left. He was trying to avoid it and he was on the brakes. That hip check from Laz on the inside did have something to do with it. It's not exception. You can't sit there and say it didn't, because it did. That hip check had something to do with that. His directional change that he went. He was steering left and he was on his brakes. So there was no malice or intention there whatsoever. The hip check on the inside had something to do with it. If anything, looking at the corner entry, it's Harris coming over to squeeze the gap up on Wilcox in the middle. You know, you've got to analyze it. You can't just sit back and go, yeah, that was it. It was his fault. That hip check had nothing to do with it. Yes, it did. The hip check had a lot to do with it. And then his steering wheel was directly going left. So he was trying to avoid and on the brakes at the same time. So I'm sorry, I think there's a few people. Have a look back at it first before we lay complete blame on Jaden there, because the gap was always closing anyway from both sides, and that hip check from Laz sent him into Harris while he was turning left.
Well, what I think we can definitely confirm is it's a very messy scenario. We know that. It's, as always, there's a little bit of controversy that comes out of the end of the round, and what would it be if not for controversy? But it's been a spectacular race nonetheless. Next week we go racing for the final time in Season 1 out at Detroit Bella. Why is that so small? Let me resize that. My God. Okay. Technical issues as we go along. Fantastic. We love to see it. So yeah, we go racing once again next week out at Detroit Belle Isle for our final round of the season. I'm excited because I love Belle Isle, James. It's a X Factor sort of race. It's one which will change up the game in terms of who's going to end up on top, who's always going to, end up in a positive scenario. And I think it's going to come down to survival and how well you survive next week. So I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing how we go. I look forward to seeing how the drivers go. And I'm excited. It's been a phenomenal Season 1. I'm excited for next season. The calendar looks spectacular. And yeah, I don't think there's any more I can say other than get your popcorn ready, get your drinks ready for what may come next week. It's a 3-horse race in this championship battle between Simon Mazzomo, the championship leader, Daniel Harris, and Corey Lazarus as well. It's anyone's game, and Belle Isle will choose the victor in the concrete jungle. But for myself, Hamish Munro and James Parfitt alongside, appreciate your time. Thank you very much once again, James, for being here this week. Next week, Belle Isle is going to be an absolute belter. A big shout out to our series sponsors, VRS Virtual Racing School, for coming on board as our title sponsor. Direct link to them in the video description as well. For Infinity Broadcasting, for us bringing you the broadcasting every single week. SPP Graphics, if you're in the world of motocross or dirt bike riding, you want to get your bike looking as clean and sexy as possible, send a message over to SPP Graphics on Facebook. They'll get you sorted to looking as sexy as possible for you. Cover that thing in mud. And if you're after an iRacing paint as well, be sure to send myself a message, Hamish Munro, a message on Discord by way of Blackheart Designs. We'll get you looking just as good on the virtual circuit as well. Final round to come next week. Be sure to like the Facebook page, linked in the description below. Follow the Twitch channel as well, linked down there. And please, 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 if you can, subscribe. Click the like button, the bell icon as well on the YouTube channel. Helps support us here at Infinity Broadcasting and helps us keep bringing you fantastic racing from the land of the IRWC. Next on the docket, though, for Infinity Broadcasting, Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We bring you round 8 of the Racecraft Simulations V8 Veterans action for Split 2 out of Season 23. Myself and Brett Fisher in the booth for that one. Once again at Daytona Road Course for 300Ks. And then the next one after that, it's the final round of the VRS Porsche Cup Series. Round 10 at Belle Isle, where we will decide a champion. But until then, stay safe, drive hard, and as always, bye for now.
Control, feel the thunder in my soul. Through the danger, through the pain, only one thing to do to get to victory lane. Taking risks, full send, and in the end, be the best. It's taking over, cannot contain the desire to get to victory lane. Of the past, the roaring ghosts that never last. But here I stand, the finish line. One last race, one last time. Through it all, get past the pain. Cutting laps, making gains. Feeling tired, get to my aim. The desire to get to victory lane. Speeding faster, no control. Feel the thunder